And I think people forgot the impact of children as well as domestic violence over the lockdown, because of course people were together in their own house and there wasn't the opportunity for the external factors to see what was going on or to observe. Children go to school, and when they go to school they get seen by other parties, and of course you can see injuries, you can see bruising, and it gives an opportunity for that person to say something. That didn't happen during lockdown. Was that a big aggravating factor?
I think you've got to draw that conclusion that it was, because family and friends didn't see Star for weeks on end when she was covered in bruises all over her face and all over her arms. She was frequently nipped and slapped, receiving bruises such as that one you can see on the screen now. Family just didn't see her, so no one could tell that this kind of thing was happening.
Really brutal. And in fact, her injuries were so severe in the end, but were a catalogue of injuries. This was injuries that she was having to endure the pain, fractures, and still continue.
Yeah, she had a broken leg. It was a spiral fracture. It's caused by twisting. That was broken again before it could heal, which meant she was limping. She had a fractured skull and probably a very serious concussion in the week leading up to her death. She had broken ribs. There were bruises all over her. There was I think the pathologist found evidence of previous internal injuries, which hadn't fully healed, or there was scarring left by that, and then it all obviously accumulated in the serious event in September 2020.
And just talk me through that. I just want to play that clip again. I just want to talk it through. Let's play that clip, just the first part of it, Jamil. Let's listen to that clip again.
Under the service, is the patient breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing.
Is she conscious?
Yeah. She's a bit of both, really. Basically, it's my partner's daughter. It's my little girl as well. I brought her up. We've got all three children here playing, and I was in the kitchen making a coffee, and they've been in the living room, and I heard a bang. So I came out, and the little lad stood there, and the little girl's on the floor, and she was crying, and then she stopped crying, and then she was sick, and now she's just a little bit floppy, to be honest with you.
Shocking. I'll tell you what I find so shocking about that, and I did allude to at the beginning, was the calmness in her voice. The way she was just simply describing as though the kids had gone out to play. This was Star, seriously ill. She'd been sick. She had lost consciousness, and she was now on the floor. But no alarm in her voice at all.
No, and it was 15 minutes after the fatal incident, which the phone call was made. She'd been trying in vain. I think realising that she'd gone a bit too far this time. I think she'd taken her to the window to get some air. That didn't help. She ran her hands or her feet under cold water to try and bring her back around. That didn't help. Star was sick, so I think she clearly realised something was wrong. But she used that time to cook up this story, which she tried to convince the jury with, that she'd been in another room making a drink when it happened. So I think it must have been by that time she'd concocted this story and was just relaying it to the paramedic to try and convince them and convince herself that that was what had happened.
Yeah, we've got lots of questions coming in. We'll come to you very shortly, James, Elaine, and Kevin. But let's just stay with this at the moment. So what did the police put together in terms of their prosecution case, Crown Prosecution Service and the pathologist? What did they derive had happened on that day?
I think the severe Savannah had cooked up this story that she'd fallen, and whilst they were waiting together in hospital, had sort of forced Frankie to go along with this story, because that was the type of relationship it was. She was extremely controlling and coercive over Frankie Smith. But I think when the inferior vena cava, the main blood vessel that runs through your abdomen. That just doesn't get burst by falling.
And that ruptured, had it?
That ruptured, yeah. I think it was a couple of centimeters in size, the rupture, which doesn't sound a lot, but in a small baby, it's pretty serious. And she died within minutes, basically. She had absolutely no chance. But that's the type of injury that you don't get that from falling off a sofa. That's from.
So was she dead prior to the 999 call being made and being taken to hospital?
No, she was. I think there was still some signs of consciousness, but she was as good as dead. There was absolutely, even if they'd called 999 immediately and they'd been round the corner from the hospital, she wouldn't have lived, because it was just such a serious injury. The blood, I think she had about a few pints of blood pooling up in her abdomen. So it just showed that there was how severe the injury was, and she just had no chance. And it was this which made the police realise that this wasn't an accident. This had been done by somebody to Star, and it could only have been those two people, Frankie Smith and Savannah Brockhill. So, I mean, they took them in for questioning. They both stuck to the story which Savannah had cooked up, that it was an accident. But then obviously they discovered all the messages and photos and videos on each of the people's phones.